Alright, another year and another season of new anime. The winter season of 2019 had some of my favorite opening songs of the year. This time around, not as strong of a showing on average, but we're still going to take a look and see if anything special rose to the top. I'm Kid Yuki, and this is Top OP. Let's talk about the 10 best anime opening songs of winter 2020. As usual, these reviews are purely my opinion, and songs will only be ranked based on the music, irrespective of my thoughts on the anime they're attached to. Kicking things off is a song that has a lot of strengths, but also a lot of weaknesses, and it's sort of like the positive and negative aspects are playing tug-of-war with my overall opinion. That piano comes blazing out of the gate at 90 miles an hour. The drums are pretty active too, which is cool. The vocal melodies aren't bad, however I'm not really a fan of how I'm assuming that's the guy's name, delivers his performance. In softer sections, he comes off sounding kind of bored, and in the heavier sections, it sounds like he's consciously holding himself back, like it sounds strained and whiny, and I don't know, it just bothers me. The other glaring issue to me is the chorus. Something that David, the drummer in my band, talks about often is songs that earn their chorus, which is to say, songs that build in such a way to support a natural transition into the chorus section. And this is not one of those songs. Mind you, natural and smooth are not synonymous in this case. A song doesn't have to be made of strictly linear crescendos and decrescendos. You can have a heavy chorus juxtaposed against a soft pre-chorus, and that can work for a dramatic effect, but that is not what happens in this song. The contrast between pre-chorus and chorus here is not stark enough to be dramatic and not smooth enough to feel natural, it's just sorta confusing. But really the main factor here is not the feel or the energy, it's the modulation. The key changes between the pre-chorus and chorus seemingly just because. And this is a thing that happens a lot in anime music, gratuitous modulation. I guess I understand wanting to change the key in part of your song to add a bit of complexity, but it's so often done in such a jarring way that it sounds like the producer butted two bits of unrelated songs up against each other. It's for this reason I would say that Mr. Fixer is just good. Not amazing, not great. It's on this list, so it's still better than the vast majority of the other OPs this season, but I think that speaks more to how weak the music was this season on average. Okay, if the ID Invaded song was pulling hard from good and bad sides at the same time, this Bofuri OP runs right down the middle, just consistently being fine, almost good. It starts with big, epic instrumentation that is cool, though it does sound an awful lot like thousands of other isekai OPs. The verse is decent. I like the guitar doodlies in the back. The verse melody would be good, except that each half of the verse gets sort of kneecapped at the end by a flurry of notes and syllables. See, a good catchy pop melody needs restraint and purposeful note choices, and I feel like 90% of the verse is done this way. But the other 10% just seems sort of fudged together, perhaps in service of finishing some thought that couldn't be shortened any further and thus had to have a bunch of awkward syllables at the end. I don't know, did that make any sense? Anyway, the instrumentation overall is nice, if, again, a bit cliche for fantasy/isekai. Some nice piano lines here and there, some pretty strings. The drums are doing that classic fantasy anime disco. Classic fantasy anime disco. Nah, I'm sticking with it. The pre-chorus is fine, the chorus is fine. There's nothing here offensive enough for me to dock any serious points. It's all just fine. Standard fantasy instrumentation and almost good vocal melodies. And there's not much to say about the vocal performances either. They get the job done, no more, no less. So, yeah. But there are some really good songs this season. Right? Hey, guess what? We're only 3 songs in and we've already hit a song sung by the main voice cast. I'm sure we'll have more than one of these this season, we usually do. In fact, I should probably come up with a shorthand for this kind of song. If you have a good idea of a term I could use for this, let me know in the comments. Anyway, I would say this is another song that is decent all the way through, though I guess on a slightly higher level than the Bofuri song. The instruments provide a very driving and danceable backdrop for the vocals. For this kind of song, I would say the verse melody is on the verge of being great. It's sparse and rhythmic. It's not catchy. I think some of the notes don't work the best against the chord changes, so I'm overall left thinking that it's just fine. Maybe not quite great, but close. I also think the verse instrumentation feels a bit empty. Sparse instrumentation can be good, but I think maybe it just needs more reverb or something to fill it out a bit more. Anyway, the chorus is great. This is where the song really shines compared to Bofuri. The instrumentation is much fuller and the melody is solid all the way through. Now is this song really that much better than the Bofuri OP, or did it just get placed higher because it's not another goddamn isekai? Hey, look, number 7. What did I tell you? It's another one of these things, and so soon too. Okay, first thing I want to say, and this isn't a knock against the previous songs on this list, is that this song does a very good job at transitioning between different singers without it being jarring. They're probably just EQ'd and mixed a bit better so that there's a smoother transition between vocalists, and maybe that seems like the obvious thing to do, but a lot of these VA showcase songs and idol group songs seem to have a problem with this. But okay, aside from that, this whole song can be boiled down to basically Soreiro Days. It's that guitar-driven, fast disco beat thing that we all know and love from Gurren Lagann. And sure, this has been done plenty of times before too, but to me this song just feels a bit fresher and is also executed a little bit better than the previous two songs. For one thing, I have a soft spot for the way the rhythm guitar drives the verse in this style of song. I just think it feels more invigorating than washing things out with a bunch of strings and synths like your bog standard isekai OP. Alright, I'll stop harping on the isekai OPs. I already mentioned how the vocals are mixed well, but I think the melodies are pretty good. I do like the verse a lot more than the chorus, but the chorus melody is solid. And this whole thing rocks without ruining the idol group vibes. It's a pretty harmonious blend of the two styles. So I guess check this out if you like rock, or idols who are rock, or rocks who are idols, I don't know.
なんなんだろうこの胸のもやもやは
I had to put this one on here. Musical soundtrack style OPs like this don't come around very often, and this one is pretty good. It seems to float around without a care, changing time signatures and tempos on a whim, but it never feels disjointed. The flowing strings and harp into the intro lead, the sharp pizzicato strings and fluttery flutes and xylophone, and then that marching beat with the piano and synth bass. That's And it all culminates in a triumphant, do you even call that a chorus in this kind of song? Anyway, it's really cool musically. I will say that I'm not in love with the vocalist. He's not bad. I think he delivers a good performance. Maybe for this kind of song, I'm just looking for something more powerful and dramatic, like stronger vibrato, something. Also, a bit more reverb thrown in here and there might have helped ramp up the drama and the more powerful parts. I don't know, I'm a rock musician. What do I know about this kind of stuff? It's unique and it's really good. It's not exactly a song I'm going to come back to and listen to over and over again, but I guess that's the real reason why it's only at number 6. Okay, here's a crazy one. So I'm a big fan of Days from Kagero Project and Macaque City Actors, and Mononoke in the Fiction is giving me very similar vibes. Some of the, quote, crazy rock songs get a little too fast and ridiculous for me, but I feel like this song and Days ride that line pretty well. I like the heavy intro, the riff section is kinda but I love the guitar work everywhere else. The simple but crazy fast 2-note guitar thing paired with the frantic cross-stick drum beat in the verse, I love it. And that hammer-on riff in the second half of the verse, so cool. And I think the way they made the vocals fairly sparse in the verse was super smart. You get to enjoy the cool melody and the wild instrumentals without either overshadowing each other. Well, okay, I do think the guitar is a little too loud and the vocals are a touch too quiet, but they're not off by enough for me to mind all that much. Now, I obviously have some other critiques, otherwise this thing wouldn't be stuck at number 5. I'm not crazy about the vocalist. Her voice is a little too shrill, dare I say whiny for my taste. I am very much not a fan of the low backing vocals in the pre-chorus, and I think the chorus is just okay. The verse is so cool and crazy, I guess the chorus feels like a bit of a letdown by comparison. Like, the vocal melody is decent, but I think the whole chorus section is just a bit sonically empty. The vocals and guitars are both relatively sharp in tone and are playing notes and chords in a higher register, so there ends up being a gap between all those higher notes and the bass just playing some low notes. Maybe a lower chugging rhythm guitar would have filled this out a little bit better. The overall volume of this section probably could have come up a bit too relative to the rest of the song. It's not a bad chorus, but it doesn't pack as much punch as I think it could or even should in a crazy song like this. So it's not 100% perfect, but Mononoke in the Fiction from Inspector is a fun, crazy ride all the way through.
うつ 先にも見上げてる先にもきっと未来は待っているよだから歩いて
This song is as cute and comfy and enjoyable as the anime that it opens for, which I said I wouldn't talk about, so I just forget I said that last thing. It's sort of ballady, but with some interesting rhythmic choices. I wasn't expecting that double-time drum beat in the verse. It's nice though. The arrangement is lush without being too densely packed with instruments. Some nice piano, little bells here and there. I like the sort of counter melodies being played on the violin. Now Toyama's voice is really pretty too. Like the rest of the song, it's very comfy, like she's giving the listener a hug, but with her voice. The melodies are solid. I do think the instrumental interlude in the beginning feels a little bit, I don't know, boring. I mean, the whole song is pretty laid back. In fact, I'd say that while everything is nice and comfy, the whole song being fairly laid back and kind of subdued is the main thing keeping this thing from being higher on this list. It's pleasant enough while I'm listening, but it's not so enthralling that I expect to find myself going back to it over and over again. I'm gonna be totally honest with you, the piano at the beginning of this song is nearly enough to make me cry. In fact, the piano is definitely one of, if not the main reason this song is up here at number 3, but there's way more to it than that. Nagi Yanagi's vocal performance is gentle and elegant and fits perfectly into the floaty, sort of fantastical feel of the song. One little thing that I really like in here is the fact that you can't truly tell what the beat of the song is until the drums come in. By that I mean, the piano starts and you can tell that the beat is in 3 or possibly 6, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But once the drums come in, you realize that not only is it definitely in 6/8, but there's also a triplet swing underneath it, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that swung feel makes the beat seem more jazzy, but more than that, it gives the whole song this more whimsical kind of feel. It's so interesting to me because if the song were played with a straight beat, it would still feel fantastical, but in more of a sort of prim and proper classical sort of way. Like, for example, in the verse there are these tight snare drum rolls which you tend to associate with rigid marching rhythms, but here with the swung feel, they tend to feel more loose and playful. Okay, no more fanboying over musical minutia, back to the rest of the song. The strings fill things out nicely, the backup vocals in the chorus are beautiful and support the chorus melody very well. This song is just really good. My only criticism, and this is a small one, is that the vocal tracks seem to be a bit flat, not in pitch, but in tone. I feel like they could be EQ'd to have a bit more high-end to brighten them up a bit and cut through the instruments a bit better. But that's it. As is often the case in the latter half of these videos, this is one of those songs where the only thing keeping it from being higher on the list is my own personal enjoyment of the ones ahead of it. If last season's number 4 spot didn't make it obvious, I am into this combination of glitch pop instrumentals and moe-tastic vocals. It just seems to work in this cute, bubbly sort of way, and I just love it. In this case, I really like the choices of different beats they use across the song's runtime as well. In the verse, there's this sort of garage beat in both half and standard time, and the instrumentation is a bit more sparse, though there are still a bunch of synths and bass jabs to give it that glitchy feel. The vocal melody here is sparse enough to stay catchy and let things breathe. Then the whole thing breaks down to just kick-in vocals and some faint synths to fill it out a bit, and then it all builds into this super bouncy 4-on-the-floor chorus. And those of you who don't know, 4 on the floor tends to refer to the kick drum being hit on every single beat, so 1, 2, 3, 4, every single beat of the kick drum is hitting, so that's 4 on the floor. It's very heavily associated with dancey music. The bass line is jumping all over the place, everything is sidechained to the kick drum, which gives things the feeling that many EDM-influenced pop songs have, the instruments sort of swelling and receding in waves in time with the kick drum, like bwah, 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 bwah. I don't know a better way to describe it, so I hope that made sense. Yes, the whole thing is pretty compressed, but that's sort of the nature of the beast here. The aim of a chorus like this is to get you dancing, and to that end, it is super effective. I guess I didn't say yet that I think Liu's voice fits the song perfectly, super cute, great vocal performance. This is just a fun, well-made pop song from back to front. Love it. So what could top a well-crafted, bubbly pop song? How about the unbeatable groove of a 70s funk throwback? I mean, Bruno Mars has practically defined his career at this point by that notion. In fact, my theory on this song, admittedly without knowing anything else the band All At Once has done, was some songwriter was listening to Treasure and 24K Magic nonstop and just going, "This! I need to make this!" The groovy drums, the vocoders, the shimmery synths in the back. Maybe it's a ripoff, but you know, it works. It's catchy, it's exciting, it makes you want to move. I didn't quite expect the singer's voice in a song like this, but I think it works pretty well. Also, the vocal melodies are super catchy, especially in the chorus. Another thing I love in the chorus is the call and response between the vocals and the vocoders, and also that whoa at the end. You can't help but sing along to it. Maybe this stuff is cliche at this point, but I don't care. I think the song is tons of fun. Are there things that could make it better? Sure. Just because it's my number one, I don't necessarily think it's 100% perfect. Much like with the Jeweler Richard OP, I think the lead vocals could do with a little bit more treble for clarity. Also, the bass sounds like it's being done on a synth, which is totally cool and it sounds great, but I'd love to hear some real slapping done on some real bass. But yeah, that's it. Check this song out if you like, happiness. But of course, that's just my list. What do you think? Was the order all wrong? Were there some awesome songs I somehow missed? Be sure to let me know all your thoughts in the comments below, and while you're down there, do the usual stuff, like and subscribe, hit the bell thing for notifications, check out some of my previous videos, my Patreon and my other social media accounts are linked down in the doobly-doo, and check out my live streams, which are every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Central Time. I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon with another edition of Top OP. I've been Kid Yuki, you've been awesome, and until next time, keep anime rockin'.